This is iPhone Air, the thinnest iPhone ever. And it looks stunning. But this design clearly comes with its drawbacks. What about durability, performance, heat, speakers? What about the battery life and there's only one camera? Well, here is my review. You know, some people act like design doesn't matter, as if it's something that has to work, no matter how it looks and feels. But that's not true. Your favorite food isn't your favorite food because it has the perfect amount of nutrition. It is your favorite because it tastes good. It is very impressive to hold the iPhone Air in your hand for the first time, and even after 1000 times it still feels impressive. Everybody wants to touch it, everybody likes it. It is very stunning. But how is that even possible? The thickness of 5.6 millimeters. The secret is inside the camera bar at the top. It is not that big for no reason. Apple has squeezed all the Air's technology into it. Camera, speakers, processor. It frees up the entire lower part, the part you hold in your hand, for the battery. The result? A smartphone that is not only 3 millimeters thinner, but also 66 grams lighter than the 17 Pro Max. That's a whole kiwi less in your hand or trouser pocket. Despite the bar, the Air wobbles quite a bit on tables. I like the glossy titanium frame because it makes the Air feel even thinner than it is. And it always sparkles like a piece of jewelry. You can see fingerprints and dirt, but a matte finish wouldn't have suited the design. In addition, the frame is incredibly stable. You can't accidentally bend it, and thanks to ceramic shield on the back and ceramic shield 2 on the front, breaks and scratches are very unlikely. So my first worry is unfounded. Worry number 2 is because the Air is so thin, you don't have 2 speakers, but only one. It's not at the bottom, it's in the earpiece. When you watch videos, the sound only comes from the side, and that's quite strange at the start. But when you watch shorts, TikToks and Reels, you don't notice anything. Phone calls, same thing. I mean, it's just one speaker, but the quality is really good and it gets surprisingly loud. The vibration motor feels just as strong and good as on the other iPhones. The Air is just as waterproof and also has MagSafe. Also, the camera button. It's tiny, but it has all the features. One of the highlights is the display. 6.5 inch in size, so between Pro and Pro Max. For me, that's the perfect size. Razor thin bezels all around, 120Hz OLED and a maximum of 3000 nits brightness. It's a very good display and somehow feels even more futuristic because the phone is so thin. Worry number 3, performance and heat. The Air has the A19 Pro, just like the iPhone 17 Pro. That is Apple's best processor. However, in a slightly weaker version, and it throttles strongly just in a few seconds. Therefore, it does not achieve the same numbers in benchmarks as the Pro model. With the CPU, to some extent. That's probably the strongest on the market. With the GPU, however, the Air is 20% weaker than the Pro and falls way behind the 16 Pro in a 20-minute stress test. Nevertheless, it's a very good processor, don't get me wrong, and it runs smoothly in everyday life. I only felt heat in 3 situations, and only at the top where the camera sits, after updating 30 apps, when charging with a cable and when gaming. This year there is a new software. It's iOS 26 with the biggest redesign in years called Liquid Glass. Everything is more transparent, more rubbery, more playful, and on the iPhone 17 Pro it feels a bit out of place, but on the Air it feels right at home, like it was made for it. There are also problems: stuttering, loading error, glitches, elements with poor readability. Apple still has a lot of work ahead. The software feels unfinished. And don't even let me talk about Apple Intelligence. Android is much more advanced. Problem number 4, battery. This is the area where I expected the iPhone Air to completely suck, because the Galaxy S25 Edge was not too good and it even had more battery. So I was extremely surprised to see that the iPhone Air actually has a very good battery life. I'm not kidding, guys. The day before yesterday, I had 7 hours and 20 minutes of display use. 7 hours, 20 minutes. The day before, 4 hours with almost 40% battery left. Yesterday, 5 hours 20 with 17% left. These are great numbers, better than many other smartphones on the market. almost twice as good as the Samsung S25 Edge. And you can tell that this was a home game for Apple. Making thin products efficient, they can do that. They managed it with the MacBook Air, the iPad Pro and now the iPhone Air. It is possible thanks to developed chips like the throttled A19 Pro, the C1X modem and the N1 chip for Bluetooth 6 and Wi-Fi 7. And only having one speaker, it's not a big difference, but it helps. It is very impressive to see that only 3150 mAh can give you so much battery. It's very efficient and I feel it will stay this way. Why shouldn't it? And when things get tight, you can use this ultra thin power bank, which, fun fact, contains exactly the battery of the iPhone Air, but it can only provide a 65% charge due to charging losses. Together with that, the Air even lasts way longer than the 17 Pro Max. Guys, I know how crazy it sounds, but the battery is not a con on the iPhone Air. It's actually kind of a benefit. It is not bad at all. Yet I think that new silicon carbon battery technology would have been even more impressive. Charging is relatively average. I measured 55% in 30 minutes. That's not bad, but not too impressive either. So there's only one thing left, and that's the camera. The iPhone Air has one single camera. It has 48 megapixel and is a sensor used in the iPhone 17, not 17 Pro. Can you see the difference? What about here and here? The answer is always no. But there's still a number of bad news. The Air has no 4K 120, no ProRes log, no ProRes RAW, not even RAW pictures. And that doesn't feel like a technical limitation, but rather like a software thing. I mean, the A19 Pro is here with 12 GB of RAM. Portrait pictures are possible, the cinematic mode is not. Dual record is on board. And there is the new selfie camera. It's pretty much the best selfie camera I know, and I quickly learned to love it because you can hold the smartphone like it is and take widescreen selfies and videos. That's a great feature everyone should copy. And speaking about the pictures, they are beautiful, very sharp, colorful, but just like on the Pro, too low in contrast, a little bit too flat. The result? You can always point and shoot and you will always see everything in frame. But speaking for aesthetics, I think that Google, OnePlus or Xiaomi do a better job. The Air can zoom a maximum of 10x and this does not look very good. 4x also not a great look. 2x however appears lossless. The close focus distance is a bit better than on iPhone 17 Pro, but there is no macro mode, no ultra wide angle, so if you want to get more things into your shot, you have to do a panorama. Well, and that's pretty much everything I can say about the camera. I hope that Apple would have a great idea, like having a liquid lens that can switch between ultra wide and main camera, but no, just one camera, and that definitely limits you. Conclusion: the iPhone Air is stunning. It's thinner, lighter, more beautiful than other smartphones, and it is a design object, but it has compromises. And you know what? iPhones used to be that way for years. That is what made an iPhone, and here you get an iPhone. The 5 problems I saw coming, at the end only 1.5 of them really were a problem in my day-to-day use. That's the camera. More lenses is of course better, also with the speakers and the performance could be better, but to be completely honest, did not bother me that much. What does bother me is the price. It's 1,200 euros, that is 250 euros more than the iPhone 17, which is better, so you're paying more for less. This feels strange, I don't like it. And at the end, I really have to say, this is a device you can't really buy logically. You have to buy it because you want it. It's an emotional thing, and if you do want it, I can tell you, it's quite good.